Hello and welcome to today's webcast. I'm Jason Gumpert from msdynamicsworld.com, and joining us today for the session looking at resource scheduling in Dynamics AX 2012 is our returning speaker for us, Alex Anikiiev. He is a technical architect at Microsoft working with Dynamics AX, and we are really happy to have him back. Alex is an active blogger on topics related to AX, including manufacturing, integration, and more. And as we get started today, I just want to add a couple notes. We do welcome your questions and comments. We recommend using the Q&A block that you should see to the right of the slide right now. And Alex has a lot of great material to show, but we will plan to get to questions at the end. So without further delay, please allow me to welcome today's speaker, Alex Anikiiev. Alex, are you there? Oh, Alex, you are
I'll just share my screen and we'll begin. All right. So hopefully you can all see my screen. And thanks again for joining. Excellent. So today's topic is resource scheduling in Dynamics AX 2012. And the idea that I had was to discuss different cross-functional scenarios when related to resource scheduling. So just if we speak about scheduling, of course, we can also include, and we have to include, the material scheduling. But the purpose and the focus for today's discussion is more on the resource scheduling side. And I want to guide you through the series of scenarios, and I composed the use case, the consolidated use case that has all different types of functionalities included, including production job scheduling, including project activity scheduling, including MRP and plant orders, and some of the interesting aspects that people usually overlook, and I want to discuss them as well today. So let me begin, and I prepared some of the slides, which I'll quickly go through, as well as I have a lot of functional scenarios to show you in AX and show you how this all works. So if we look at the resource scheduling engine by itself, it consists of multiple parts in Dynamics AX 2012. So as displayed in this slide, the resource scheduling engine consists of basically X++ consumers and different functionalities that I briefly mentioned, and I will come back to this on the next slide. Then there is a middle layer that is basically scheduler pre and post processors. So this is the actual implementation of the resource scheduling engine in X++. And then the third component, the third layer here at the bottom, is basically built using C#. So that's basically the logic that is built and provided as the DLL to support and to provide the best performance possible. So that's the three components of the resource scheduling engine. Also, as you can see, that the communication between the X++ scheduler and the C# component of the scheduler is provided, and basically we push information about jobs, job constraints, some inter-job dependencies, applicable resources down to the C# layer. Then C# layer has a number of classes that pulls information as needed about resource capabilities, working times, capacity reservations, and so on. And then on the way back, we return information about selected resource, date and time of the operation of the job, and the capacity reservations which were built as a part of this constraint-based resolution for the schedule. That's the global scheme of things. And what I actually want to focus on today is more like a functional scenario. So I want to go over production control and using production orders and how we can schedule and what aspects it encompasses. Then I want to show that the project management and accounting module and managing resources and assigning and basically scheduling activities for project resources, as well as we can use Microsoft Project Client and native integration in Dynamics AX is very powerful. And also we can extend this, even the first scenario, the production control scenario, to project manufacturing. In the project manufacturing environment, you will use project production orders, and we'll discuss that. Then, of course, one of the other building blocks will be master planning and how we can create planned production orders and basically schedule planned production orders as well and include this into the picture. And then there is a common misconception about service management and how we do dispatching in service management. So this is not directly related to the resource scheduling and scheduling engine in AX, but I will still show you the scenario how to do service management and service order dispatch, just to cover this piece and show the difference between the resource model and how we do service management dispatch for our field technicians, let's say, doing some jobs in the field. And also I will include actually some of other topics like production dispatch. So this allows you to do pretty interesting manipulations with the job scheduling. So many people don't know about this functionality exists. And then we also have ability to create your own custom Gantt charts. And again, many people overlook this, and this can come pretty handy in some of the scenarios. So we'll cover that as well. So if we speak about cross-functional scenario and the setup required, so where I will begin will be the setup of worker. And the use case that I established is using demo data in the latest demo VM, which is available in the partner source. And you can basically, I will provide this material on my blog, on my manufacturing blog. The link will be provided at the end of this session. And I will provide step-by-step instructions. So it's a pretty long document. I'll probably split it into like four different parts. But you can replicate the same thing. And the main idea is that we have resource model going across all different functional areas. And the single worker that I will create, I'll create myself. I will use myself in the context of different modules. I'll use myself as a production floor worker, as a project professional working on activities and being assigned with some of the tasks and so on. I'll use myself as a worker who gets assigned to planned production orders and so on. So in many different, I will have many different faces today, and the main message here is that we have one single resource model that is applicable to everything which is related to resource scaling in AX. And this makes AX pretty powerful because in the cross-functional scenarios, when you deploy production control, when you deploy project modules and some other functionalities, you use the same worker and you reserve capacity, because capacity is another very important aspect here, how we handle and how we manage capacity for the resource. So that's the main message. And of course, I will have to do some additional setup for production control, to set up production unit to make this worker available as a resource in the resource model in AX. I'll have to set up the resource group, the resource, specify the calendar. Actually, I'm using some of the existing calendars in a demo VM, in particular production calendar. And then we can also review capacity reservations, capacity loads, and some other things. So I will come back. I will just go over a couple of slides here and then come back to the functional scenario. So the first very logical scenario will be on the production control side. So we'll create production order. I simplified production BOM and production route to have just one component and one operation for simplicity. And again, I'm not focusing on material planning and material scheduling, because obviously if you don't have materials, or if you have, let's say, BOM and sub-BOMs, and for the sub-BOM you have some delays and you cannot deliver materials on time for the operation to begin, then of course this will delay your the whole start of your activities and start of your jobs when you schedule your jobs. So of course material scheduling has a big impact on the way how we do resource scheduling. But of course, again, if we look at the resources associated with the route, then this is what we're focusing on today, and that's why on the production route I will actually add the resource requirement, and then we'll see how to do operation scheduling, job scheduling. After the job scheduling, we'll get jobs populated, and then we can review capacity reservations done and the Gantt charts and how this all looks like. So if you consider manufacturing environment, the resource scheduling flow may look like this. So you have multiple operations, and you have multiple basically capabilities or resource requirements assigned to each of the operations. And then scheduling engine takes all this into account. So of course, the capabilities were added in AX 2012, so this did not exist in, or a big enhancement in AX 2012 compared to the previous releases. And capability makes a lot of sense in many environments, like the job shop environment and some other environments. And you can also apply some additional requirements such as competencies, and you can select the resource for the specific operation or resource group for specific operation, and so on. So just a couple of more slides before we get into the application for the first scenario. And when you deal with the resource scheduling, when you're designing your routes, there are a number of, in the light of the brand new functionalities in 2012 around capabilities, there are a number of best practices for you to consider when you're designing your route. So you want to add capability requirements or versus resource requirements in certain situations. So the capability requirements, there are a couple of indicators which will tell you that it's a good candidate for the capability requirement. So if route is not resource specific, if production layout may change over time, if you have many alternate resources, the job shop environment, just like I mentioned before, the routes apply to multiple sites. So you create like siteless route and then apply some capability requirements to it. And then if a process designer has no insight into production layout, so you can more like model this with the capabilities as opposed to like resources required. And then on the other side, if you look at the resource requirements, kind of indication that this is applicable. So if you have a dedicated production lines, of course, most likely you will have some specific resource requirements around those. Or if you have resource-specific operations, just explicitly. Or if you have constraints that are not modeled in the system, and you want to introduce those constraints into the system. So that will be a high-level kind of recommendations to consider about capabilities requirements versus resource requirements. So I'll probably not go deeper in here. Maybe like a few words about job scheduling and operation scheduling, and then we'll go into the scenario itself because it's about time. So you can do two types of scheduling in AX. So that's well known, and the job scheduling is the precise scheduling, and you can get not only the date of the operation, but also the time and the appropriate resources assigned to the jobs. So the operation will be split into jobs based on number of times that you specified, and times may be of different kinds. So you can have runtime, you can have setup time, you can have queue before, queue after, transit time, and so on. Different types of times you can specify. And then there are a couple of things, like a couple of distinct characteristics of job scheduling. So the job scheduling, that's a very common misconception in AX 2012, that people think that job scheduling is more complex than operation scheduling. So technically, no, because job scheduling is relatively simple to comprehend, and you only need to evaluate resources individually, as opposed to operation scheduling when you have to deal with the different capacities for different like groups of resources and per capability, per resource type, depending on the constraints and depending on the resource requirements that you specify. So a couple of things I outlined here, like relatively simple, only need to evaluate resources individually, reserving capacity on resource and decreases the resource availability, and no matter what kind of requirement was stated on the operation. And it respects the resource requirements marked with the job scheduling, can also use HR-related requirements and takes the level of capability into account, because not only you can specify the capability in the requirement, you can also say from certain level, so you can have a capability of let's say processing wood or processing the metal, but it has to be a certain level of qualification or a certain level of skill that is required, so you can specify that, and this is taken into account in job scheduling. So operation scheduling is much more complex technically, because you have like, what if you schedule based on resource group, and you may have a different composition of your resources into different groups. So how do I approach this? And this is the general guidelines that the operation can be scheduled from the resource group if, and there are a couple of points I outlined, so just a few of them. So it contains at least the number of applicable resources that the operation requires, which is specified on the operation resources quantity field. And there are plenty of interesting things in terms of operation scheduling capacity. So how does the system calculate those? And for each particular date, based on the calendar, of course, the availability calendar, you will have a different types of, basically different formulas, how available resource group capacity is calculated. So I will not go deeper into this, but just to give you some high-level information about like scheduling capacity per capability, and there are plenty of different formulas, but you get the idea that when you cannot consider and when you cannot allocate time from one particular resource, you may have multiple options. So those options bring complexity. So this complexity is hidden from you, but this is implemented in the scheduling engine in AX, and all these calculations take place depending on what resource requirements you will have specified. And then in terms of the example of the operation scheduling, you will see that, let's say I have a resource group that consists of 3 resources. 2 of them are workers and 1 of them is a machine. And you see that there are some capabilities added, so like assembly, inspection, assembly, packing, and so on. And if you see that, if you assume that 8 hours of, if we assume 8 hours of capacity for each of the resources, so we have basically the total for the particular day. We have the resource group capacity of 24 hours, which is 8 times 3, 24. But if you review the resource type capacity for the worker, you will have for the type of resource, you'll have 16 hours because you have 2 of them. For the machine, it's 8, so it's kind of 16 plus 8. This sums up as 24. And if you dig deeper and if you go down to capability capacity level, then suddenly you see that for assembly capability, you have 16 hours because this is what your workers, both of your workers are capable of doing. And then for packing capability, you have also 16 hours because one of the machines has packing and one of the resources has packing. And for inspection, only 8 because only worker 1 has inspection 8. So depending on the layout, depending on the composition of your resource requirements, you will have a very different points of view, and then depending on what you have in the setup, the system will do this constraint-based optimization. So that's why partially we implemented this as a C# DLL for the best performance because of this interesting calculations and interesting manipulations taking place behind the scenes. So let's just get into AX right now, and we'll consider the first scenario. So we at 9:18 right now. We'll have to be quick. So what I did here for my scenario, I created a worker as myself. So this is my worker. Then I also created. So I'm using the demo data and just introducing the brand new data on top of that, so I can do some easy manipulations with the data. So then I added a resource group. The resource group added was 999, and you see that there is a production unit which I also added here. So I associated this with the resource group. So this is how it looks like. And then I also use finite capacity because I want to see the decrease in capacity reservations as we go. So that's why finite capacity is specified on the resource group. I also have the resource which is associated with this group. It's called A999. So if I go here, you will see that it's associated with the worker as usually, and the finite capacity is also selected. I'm not using capabilities in this case, and I also hooked this up with the calendar, which is the standard production calendar, and you can create your calendars and using working times and compose those times and create those calendars pretty easily in AX. So what I do from here, I can actually right away from my resource, I can actually see what capacity reservations I have in place. And right away you see some of the interesting things. So you see the global application of the resource model in AX. So I have some job scheduled things and job scheduled jobs against this resource, and you see the different types. So one of them is project, two of them are production, and one of them is plant order. So this is pretty powerful because you create your resource just once, and you use this in across all the different functionalities. So if you deploy multiple modules, that's totally fine. So that's my capacity reservations. You can also review capacity reservations a lot, and I prefer to do this graphically. And if I do this, if I apply this, so you will see that some of the capacity reservations here. And for the range, actually, I'm looking at the range from 710 to 714, and I included all types of. It's a good indication, by the way, what's included into consideration for the resource model. Those checkboxes here. So operation scheduled, activities, job scheduled, jobs, productions, plant orders, projects, and summation. And you can also define criteria, the dates. So that's why it shows me those nice bars. And then in the graphics, you can define the periods and some other things. Click apply, and it shows you the nice picture that on 10 and on 11, I did not consume anything. So this is the capacity with the blue, and this is really what I consumed with the yellow. So if I want to go ahead with the production scenario, so what I will do, I will navigate to production control. I'll go to production orders, and we'll just create new production order here for the item, which is D001. So I did some preparation work, and I actually simplified my BOM. So my BOM, this is the production BOM. This is how the production BOM will look like, but I simplified the main engineering BOM to include only one component here, and I know that I have enough on hand here, as well as the route. The route consists of only one operation, which is wiring. So I deleted all unnecessary kind of stuff and left only needed stuff. So for the wiring, I have resource requirement, and this resource requirement, actually, I have to look at this one. And resource requirement is for the resource 999, which is myself, and I enable this for operation scheduling and job scheduling, as well as I have times. Runtime is 1, so that's all I need, and the code category is only specified for the runtime type, which is more than enough for me to proceed with. So I'll create this production order, which is just a simple production order in production control module, and then my BOM production BOM and production route will be populated. So of course I have this resource requirement here sitting here, which is exactly what I need. And then if I want to add additional requirements here, I can add around capability, skill, or something else. So that can be done. You cannot have multiple requirements of the same type. So that's why, I mean, if I specify a resource type requirement of let's say machine or a human resource, in the case if I would introduce an additional requirement of the same type, it would contradict with each other. So that's why there is a check for this, and there is a way to, if you want to handle like in other resource scheduling systems, if you want to handle like primary and secondary constraints and so on, there is a way to how to do that. So basically, I'll just delete this. We'll leave this as is, just to consume capacity from this particular resource. And then what I will do, I will estimate my production order. This will create transactions for my consumption of my materials, right? So just in open state, just transactions physically in the system. And then I can go into the schedule and do the operation scheduling first. So the scheduling date is 7/9. This is what I have. And then the finite capacity comes from my parameters. And then, of course, you can have also schedule references and synchronized references. So the references section is designed for you to be able to, if you have a multi-level BOMs with the sub-BOMs, you can, when you schedule your parent BOM, you can schedule all the rest of your sub-BOMs, so you can have a consistent picture. So if you schedule references, the whole hierarchy of sub-BOMs will be scheduled for you, and this is very handy when you have a lot of levels of nesting in your BOMs. So I'll go ahead with the operation scheduling, and now I can come back to my route, and on the scheduling tab, I can see that this was scheduled actually for 7/14 to happen, based on all the information about applicable resources. So the only one applicable resource, which is myself, and all the capacities available for this and so on. Then I can also, so this is like a rough scheduling, and if I want to get more precise, I will go ahead and do schedule jobs, and I can also use capabilities of scheduling direction. So depending on the situation, you may decide to start to schedule forward from today's date, forward from scheduling date that you specify here, or backward from, let's say, the action date, back or forward from tomorrow. So there are plenty of capabilities how you can schedule this. If you schedule multiple production orders at once, you'll be able to select the scheduling direction and kind of tie together different scheduling activities. So this will be in conjunction with the previous one. So very powerful feature, and I'll just do the forward scheduling for this case. And when I do that, all my jobs will be populated. So this is my jobs, and the times will be populated as well. So not only job gets created, but also the time gets assigned and so on. So I can see that this operation is scheduled to take place from 12:30 to 1:30, and I can very quickly go and see the capacity reservations here, and I can see that for this particular production order, capacity reservation for 1 hour was created, and I can go ahead and do on the resource, I can go ahead and do the capacity load graphically, and see that this time, if it was 14, you see that my capacity consumed raised here to 4 hours because of the before it was 3, but I added 1, so you can graphically see how it looks like on a graphical way. Then you can also use the Gantt chart, and not only to review the information, but also to change the information. So if I go to schedule and if I click on the Gantt chart, the system will show me the Gantt chart, will populate the Gantt chart for my order, and this is my operation, and this is how it looks like. And of course, if I have some other orders for this guy, I may want to display them. So this is what I was practicing, and this is how it looks like. And you see that you can also move stuff here. You can get more information here by right-clicking. You can also move stuff here, and when you move them, you will have to save your schedule, and this will be propagated back to Dynamics AX to the job. The only caveat here is that it will not show you, the Gantt chart does not allow you to like do the interactive check for errors. So you can schedule something and then you can find out about errors like post factum when you try to save your or validate your schedule. So that is when sometimes we have to, in the more complex scenarios, in the more when more interactiveness is needed, then we oftentimes use ISV solutions, which I will speak about towards the end of the session. So just to speed up a little bit, I will switch basically to the next scenario, which is the project control, and we saw how to very quickly create and schedule operation schedule and the job schedule production order. And if you go into the project management accounting, the way you schedule is quite different, but it still lands all the capacity reservations against your resources. So basically, you have your workers, and you will have, in conjunction with your project, you will have your WBS, the work breakdown structure, and for WBS, it's just an estimate of what will be happening. So it has no impact on basically capacity reservations at the beginning. So for this one, for instance, I have, as you can see, I have some of the activities scheduled for myself for 1 hour. So WBS is just an estimate, and it's not the subject for scheduling. This is where people have confusion oftentimes. And when you're done with your WBS, and when you can use project server, project client integration to come up with those estimates for WBS, and then you will transfer your WBS into the project hour forecast, and then the project hour forecast becomes the subject for the scheduling. So that's what we have to understand. So a couple of things here that we have to account for. So you have to provide, in order to schedule for the project, resources for the project, you have to provide a scheduling calendar here. So you see that. Without this, this is not going to work. And then on the project, you can also assign basically, let's see, it's in control, validation. You can also assign workers. The same thing you can do from the worker, assign projects. So that works the same way. And then you can see that the remaining workers, and you can assign some workers to the project. So that's another validation step to make sure that the only qualified workers work on your activities. And then on the worker side, also what you can do, you can also assign in the project setup. You can also assign the calendar, resource scheduling calendar to the worker as well. So that's another thing that will drive the calendar selection for the worker. And I showed you how to do this on the project side. So this overrides the project selection for the calendar. So when you have all of this, you can actually go ahead with work breakdown structure. So open up this and add some information, add some more tasks to work breakdown structure. So let's say this is the demo task, and I can say the effort will be 1 hour, and yeah, that's all for the beginning. And then when I go to the lines, I can actually in the work assignments, I can actually use the assign worker tab. But before to do this, I will go and showcase how to do the integration with the project client. So let's launch this. The system will create the file, which is for that specific company, USMF_project, and then the ID of the project. And it will bring over all the information that we need. So you see that it's communicating right now, and this is my work breakdown structure in the project client. And I can, here I can do some appropriate corrections, and then there is a Dynamics AX tab, just like we have in Excel add-in, that allows you basically to not only to open something, so you can easily open, select the legal entity and select the project you want to open here, and you can also publish information back to Dynamics AX. So pretty powerful feature that allows you to leverage the power of project server and project client and native integration with the project client using this nice small add-in. So when I come back here, it will show me that the WBS is linked to project. So I assume that all work I do is in project. And if this is not the case, I can unlink from Microsoft Project and be able to modify this again in the AX client. So this is what I did, and I'm back here. So I'll select this new task that I created, and I will do assign worker. So you can also use the automatic assignment of the worker. So what I will do next, I will display the available remaining capacity. It seems like I have for July 9, this is what I'm scheduling. I have 7 hours. And then I can say, basically, I can say that hard book and specify hours. I will select the resource, of course, here. And you see that 7 hours available. So then I will do the hard booking. We also have the notion of the soft booking. So you can distinguish between soft booking and hard booking. For project managers, it's very important. And I'll just book workers first available hours, 1 hour. And you will see that now I have 6 hours left for that guy. And if I come back here, you will see that for this demo task, I have 1 hour booked here against this demo task. So this shows you how to basically create and schedule using schedule resources time using basically the project client and the AX client and WBS, and this is quite different from what you used to in production control, but essentially the capacity will be reserved against the same resource. So now this is just an estimate. So it's not a subject for scheduling yet, and it will become a subject of scheduling when I will transfer this WBS estimates to forecast. So what I will do, I'll just select this, and I will say, okay, so I want to transfer this as a forecast, and I want to add this under the forecast model, which is the current forecast model. Just like imagine that this is kind of like the master plan, but for the forecast, scheduling, we have the forecast model. So this will go against this forecast model. We'll select the activities I want to transfer, and we'll say OK. So when I did this, I can close basically WBS, and I can go to plan, and I can review my hour forecast for my projects. So I can see that here is my hour forecast created, and you can see that there are two with 2 lines because I brought over 2 lines for 1 hour. And then in the resource requirements here, I can actually add, and I can manage this the way I want, but I can also add the resource and the specification that I want this to be for the resource number this, and I want actually this one to be for the resource number this. And this can be automatically propagated, just I'm doing this manually, again, based on setup, propagated, but I'm doing this manually for the sake of the presentation. So then from here, the actual scheduling takes place when I do scheduling, and then here is the option for the project hour forecast when you do resource scheduling. You can also review the applicable resources, so this is myself, looks good. You can also review the capacity load for this guy, and it seems like 40 hours for the day of 7/9. And then if I go to resource scheduling, you can also do the job scheduling or operation scheduling. So very, very powerful feature here, but this is in relation to the project. So let's do, for the sake of time, let's do job scheduling, and let's do finite capacity, because I want to take into account the actual capacity and subtract from available capacity. So then I will do this. We'll do the scheduling, and then on the scheduling tab, it will show me, okay, so that is what's happening. So I have scheduled 1 hour to take place on 7/10, depending on availability of my resources, and there is from 7 to 8, from 8 to 9, 2 hours scheduled, and there is a link. So link is also very important, maybe soft link or maybe hard link, and you see that the link is here is soft, and the link type is end to start. So the previous operation ends, the new operation starts, and there is a soft link here. So that is also important for project managers like to control. And this actually concludes this scenario. So from here you can see the capacity load and the remainder of six hours for this day, and you can also see the Gantt chart. So if you go to the Gantt chart, this time the system will present you with the information about the activities. So you see how different Gantt chart is. It's not a production job anymore. This time it's activity for the project and activity purpose. And you see that those two are related. So there is a link between those. It's a very powerful feature. And again, you can get more information about this activity right on the Gantt chart. And you can, technically, you can move this guy here. And then you can say validation. The validation passed okay. And then you can save this. And this comes back to basically the forecast, and then you can review that, okay, this time it's from 10/16 to 11/16, and I introduced some gap between those two. So that concludes this piece. So just to cover some of the other scenarios very quickly for the sake of time, so you can also create project production order, and the reference for this will be of type production. So just to show you some from the resource perspective how it looks like. So if I go to my resource, if I select my resource, I can do, okay, so this is in organization administration, the resource, this is my guy here, and then I can do basically capacity reservations. So you see some of them are projects, some of them productions, and we'll show you the next, we'll show you the plant order. But if you create, if you create production, project production order, it will show up ultimately as a production. So reference will be production. So we'll not cover this, it's included in my deck, but for the sake of time, we'll switch to MRP. So the way you do this in MRP is, again, it's slightly different, but again, it works against, the capacity will be reserved against the same resource. That's, again, the power of what we're doing. So what I will do, I will create the plant production order for this item, and I will say required quantity is 1, and then the BOM number will be this one, and then I will create. So when I create this guy, actually something is not quite right, and maybe, let's see what's going on here, maybe it's a different one. Okay, so I had to use I use the different one, and I will operate in the context of a different plan because of the settings I have. And then this is the one I created just right now for the quantity of 1. And what happens here when you create this plant order based on the settings, it will be scheduled right away. So if you wanna see the jobs, you will be able to see it. So just right after the creation will be scheduled, and then what you can do is reschedule. So of course you have a derived requirements, which is kind of the analog for your production BOM. You can also have the route, of course, and for the route you will see the resources, the resource requirements, because this came from the route, the engineering route. And then from here, again, it's already scheduled. And what I can do here, I showed you the jobs, I can reschedule. So when I reschedule, I can reschedule this for job scheduling or operation scheduling. So if I schedule this for operation scheduling instead of job scheduling, and I selected the criteria, so you see no jobs available at this time, but I can see the route, the route and the scheduling details in the route, on the route level. And then I can reschedule this again as a job scheduling and say, you know what, I want to schedule this forward from scheduling date, and the scheduling date will be maybe 15. So let's try this one. And the time may be 12 a.m. or something. So when I schedule this, the jobs will pop up again, and you see that the start time actually is on 15, and it takes from 7 to 8 depending on the calendar settings. And then, of course, you can review the calendar here, the scheduling details here, and capacity reservations. So this time the reference is plant order. So that's important. Another important thing is that there are conditional capacity reservations versus unconditional. So unconditional means that this is for the real production order. So there is no notion of the master plan. But for the plant production orders, all will be created in conjunction with the master plan. So you see that the plan specification here is dynamic plan. If I switch to my static plan, nothing is here. So imagine that unconditional capacity reservations exist regardless of no matter what, because this is the real stuff. And for the plant orders, this capacity reservations will add up to the unconditional conditional capacity reservations in conjunction with a specific plan will add up to the unconditional reservation. So this is how you can compose your global kind of high-level schema of things for the plan. So unconditional plus conditional for the plan. And this is different for a dynamic plan versus static plan. So very important to understand. And then, of course, from here you can view some things, and you can see that the capacity reservation is available here on the plant order screen, as well as the Gantt chart. And if you open the Gantt chart, it will show you the plant orders here, and this is what's displayed in the caption. So to make use of it, full use of it, you can also the Gantt chart. You can also create your own Gantt charts. So if you go to Organization Administration Gantt charts, I can create my own, let's say Alex's Gantt chart, and just select the resource. I can say, okay, so I have to specify which I have to come back here and then specify dates, and then this will go away. Okay, great. So then I will specify that I want to see only this resource, and let's see what it is. Yep, that's myself. And you can combine, actually, you can say these resources plus these resource groups. So the system, this is like a OR principle. So if you add, let's say, 999 as a group, and this means that all the resources from this group will be added as well. And this is just duplication, so now I can remove this guy. And or you can compose your kind of area of interest that consists of resources and resource groups depending on your setup in the system. So essentially, I'm interested for this Gantt chart. I'm interested in all the resources included into this group, and then I can click Gantt. And let's say I was doing some stuff on 15, I believe, and if I go there, will show me everything that takes place on 15. If I go here and put 10. Let's see what's happening on 10. So something is happening on 10. And I know that there is something happening on 14 as well. So I can open this up, and the system will show me what's happening on 14. So much more, many more jobs here, and then you can, again, see some information. And from here, you can actually schedule. And the powerful feature is that you can schedule all the previous jobs. You can schedule all the next jobs. So you decide there is a high level of flexibility. But the point here, which I'm trying to make, is that you can compose your own Gantt charts, and the system will display you all the jobs and all the activities that you need. So also what I wanted to show you, that the feature that is oftentimes is overlooked is basically this is called production dispatch. So if I go here, if I select my my resource, there is a dispatching button. So let's see what's happening here if I click dispatching. So dispatch shows me all the production jobs. So this is only for the production job scheduling. It shows me all the production jobs. You see the task type is process. And then the interesting thing, especially for those of you who have never seen that, it's quite interesting. So you can select the jobs you want to kind of reshuffle, because it may be a different priorities. It may be some rush order coming in, and you want to see what's happening and what this particular guy is doing. So you want to dispatch those jobs differently. So you can select all those jobs here. Then you can go to sequence tab. And from here, actually, it's quite interesting. So you have those are lined up as initially was set up, right? So this job gets scheduled first, this second, this after that. And then you can do up and down realignment. So you can move this job to be like the most priority one, and maybe this one moves down to be the least priority. And then you schedule from here. So you schedule for all the selected jobs. And the interesting thing, notice here that scheduling direction is forward from scheduling date, and all the rest is actually by default, it's forward from previous job. So you have a related scheduling. So you have the most priority job comes first, and this defines kind of like the starting point. And then from there, you can schedule all the rest of the jobs. So I can say, maybe I want to schedule the first job from the planned start, and then the second and third will be scheduled right after that. So it will follow the first job, which is realigned job number 1 for production 173. So very powerful feature if you want to do some ad hoc adjustments on the floor and do some reprioritization, reshuffling of the jobs, and this helps tremendously. All right, so before I get back to the slides, and we have still like 12 minutes, I want to show you the service management piece and how we do dispatch in the service management, because it's quite different from everything else. And this is not, it will not update the resource capacities, but it's just a separate functionality and separate way we do dispatching. So we basically will have activities associated with the service order, and we'll just dispatch this manually. So that's literally the manual dispatch that we have in AX, in service management module. It will not have any impact on capacity reservations for your resources, but it's just a different way how we kind of schedule resources, and this is unrelated to the resource scheduling model, but I still want to showcase and show how this works for you, so you can make use of this in your real world scenarios and your implementations when appropriate. So I'll navigate to service management module. We'll create new service order, and I will specify that, let's say the project will be, I think I used the first one or the second one. Let's use the first one. Hopefully this will be, no. Let me use the second one, because that's where I have all the setup in place. So the project 58, and I'll use the second service agreement. And then I will go into the header view. It shows me that the service data is outside of defined date and service agreement. I'll just disregard it for now. And then from here, I will specify the default line activity type, and I will specify the preferred technician who will do the job, and this will be myself. So do that. And then from here, actually, Yeah, that's all I need here. And then I'll create in the line view, I'll create a line, and this line will be for 1 hour of our time, right? And then I will change, basically in my setup, I have specified that I want to create a default dispatching activity for my work for the service orders when I change the stage of my service order to in process. So I will basically go to next stage and review what's happening here. So right now my service stage shows as in process, and you see that the default activity was populated for the dispatch. So that's what I wanted to get to, and just a couple of setups that you need that you don't want to forget about. So you want to specify the dispatch teams for the dispatch. I created one here. You want also to have your worker to be assigned to this dispatch team. So if I find finally the human resources here, if I go to workers and if I go to my worker and in the setup dispatch team, you will see that I'm assigned to this dispatch team for 999. Excellent. And then if you want to create your dispatch activity associated with the service order line, of course you don't want to forget these settings. This is in service management parameters. You want to assign the default activity that I created, the repair job, and you want to assign this as I assigned this to the service agreement activity type, which is actually not very required, but this is what's required. So I want to create my service activity for service order, yes. I want to make it repair job, and I want to make this activity associated with this activity type as a task. And the activity generation stage, you remember that I clicked next stage. So I specified that when I get to the stage in process, this is when my dispatch activity gets created. So that's how I got this here. And from this point, I can now go to dispatch board, and I can see that if I see that which date it was associated with, so it was for 7/10, that's exactly what I have here. And if I click OK here, the dispatch board will display basically this activity that I just created. I actually created two of them, one last night and one today. So this is the last created one, and both of them are undispatched. So basically the only thing that you do on the dispatch board, you dispatch this with you can right click and you can say dispatch. This gets dispatched, of course, I mean it's still outside of the period defined in service agreement, and then it gets displayed on the dispatch screen. It disappears from here, and then basically this means that you took care of this job and somebody is assigned to go out in the field and do some work and so on. And then you can dispatch the rest of the undispatched job. So this one, for instance, click dispatch, and again this disappears from here. Both of them are dispatched, and then from this point on, you know that you took care manually. You took care of the scheduling like in a manual fashion. This is what service management dispatch is about. And then from this point on, you will just proceed with your activities against the service order lines. You'll post the service order lines. This will land on the project. This will incur some cost, and then this cost will be included in the project invoice proposal, and then invoiced finally if it has a billable property, will be invoiced to the customer. So that's how this all works. So I showed you all the different flavors and some of the caveats about production job dispatch and Gantt charts. And just a couple of slides. We still have 6 minutes, I believe, and I'm going very fast, so I apologize for this. I have to navigate here. Just a couple of slides before we wrap up and get probably some time for Q&A. So this is the scenario layout for the project management, what I showed you. And the thing to remember is that you schedule project hour forecasts and not the WMS. WMS is just an estimate, and you can use project server, project client native integration to make this happen and compose WBSs very quickly. Then project production, well, I explained that. I showed how to do master planning and all these things with the scheduled by default and rescheduling on demand. I show the production dispatch, Gantt charts, service management, and then there's a couple of, just a few words about the scheduling engine interface. So I mentioned that there is X++ piece and C# piece, and you have classes in X++, and I have small project here with the classes. And oftentimes you just modify. So this is the interface, and this is the classes that you oftentimes modify. So you can find information on information source about how to modify in typical scenarios, how to introduce the constraints in X++. So this is what you typically modify, and this works. And this is just a few words about the interface. Most of the customizations, just like I said, is X++ customizations. An example is this work center scheduler _ prod class for production job brand new constraints. And here is the list of typical customizations, like additional constraints, some resource prioritization, maybe a runtime calculation change, and so on. There's some custom formulas you want to add. And this is the practical example on the example of the steak defrosting, because depending on your setup, you may do a defrosting of your steak before, basically too early, so then your steak will expire and you will not be able to sell it. So, and defrosting may be done as a production job because there is a process associated with this. So the way you want to handle this, there is a little bit of trick here. You want to like move it closer to the max days in stock, so it will still be sellable after you defrost, and you can still deliver this to your customer if this is the business process you want to implement. So you can add additional temporary job and have a finish link. It will have a runtime 0, but it will just stick your defrosting job as close to max days in stock as possible. So that's just you can find this example on the information source, and this is just an example how you can customize scheduling engine and get the most out of it. And then if you want to truly like it's more like in the hardcore situations when you introduce some brand new constraints and there is no other way to implement the same thing in X++. This means that you will have to modify C# and introduce the C# DLL and your custom scheduling engine, because it's like a plug and play type of setup. And then this is the steps, and it's much more complicated than X++ customization, and should be done only if the brand new constraints that cannot be implemented in X++ are needed. And then you will have to go through the Visual Studio development exercise and create a new C# class library, attach all the references to appropriate interfaces, override some interfaces, and then do what you need to do. You can find, so a little bit about integration scenarios. Of course, the Microsoft project is the big one, and you can do WBSs and facilitate creation of those, and then transfer this to project forecast. And then, of course, we have a list of CFMD certified for Microsoft Dynamics ISV solutions. You can find those on pinpoint.microsoft.com and watch for the certified for Microsoft Dynamics AX icon. And you can find very nice resource scheduling solutions taking care of the material scheduling and resource scheduling at the same time. Some of them are more tailored towards job shop environments. Some of them are tailored more towards traditional manufacturing facilities and so on. And you can find the list, and you can apply this. You can apply the ISV solution if the standard resource scheduling does not work. But hello, can you still hear me?
Hey, Alex. Yeah, you dropped off for a second there, but it looks like you're back.
Okay. Should I share my screen again?
We have a slide up. I think that's what you were talking to.
Okay. Yep. So in closing, I want to direct you to information source, and you can find pretty interesting white papers and the videos around how to do basically allocation of the resources and operation scheduling based on capabilities, which is a brand new in AX 2012, and how to do this API extension. There's a video that guides you through this. Also, I created this, the same scenario I created is available on my blog, And this blog is, this is the link to my blog, and I will publish the whole scenario, the whole end-to-end scenario with all the components which I mentioned, the production control, project, service management, MRP, production dispatch, Gantt charts, and more and more and more with some of the nuances and caveats. I'll publish this on my blog, so this will be done probably by the end of this week. So you can, if you're interested, you can replicate and see all the features. I try to cover as much as possible of what's available, so give people awareness of what can be used and what the best of where it's best can be used in what scenarios and what situations. So with this, I think I'll just stop. I did not cover, of course, all of the functionalities available. I tried to cover and focus on the cross-functional aspect of things, and hopefully this was meaningful for you and you learned something interesting. Let's see what we got in the Q&A. So we don't have much. Yep. So yeah, I see Joe mentioned the edit job list. So of course, yeah, we have this functionality that allows you to see the job list and edit this. So I had no chance to go and explicitly open that form. Pretty interesting, and I find this very useful, and people use it. It's like more like a dashboard type of view when you have multiple jobs, and you can, as a production manager, you can see and very easily make use of it. Then I did not show you the whole thing with shop floor control, and again what you can do there, and you can basically the execution piece, how you can after scaling you can execute, so, because it's like integral part of where it's used, right? So interesting stuff there. And where user can open form for selected resource group and then reassign resource to the job step. I have related questions. So again, from Joe, so let me think about this. For selected resource group and reassign the resource to the job step. I think I will have to think about this a little bit more. So I'll probably include this into my blog. I'll just make a note of this. So you can after you schedule, you can see. Maybe I will just find this very quickly right now. So I don't believe I'm sharing my screen, but I'll just. do you
want me to give you control back, Alex, to show your screen? No.
Yeah, I'll just look for this offline right now. And
there was one other note. I don't know if you saw it related to that from Joe. It said when he tries it, it does not carry the change to the production route. It doesn't carry the change to the production route.
Yeah, let me do one small thing here. So one small thing. Yep.
While you're doing that, I can just address another kind of general question that's come in from a few folks. We are recording today's session. We will send out an email to all of you who have, since you've registered for this event, letting you know when that's available. We'll be posting it to our YouTube channel and on our site. And I'll work with Alex to if there's any other links or any other content that we'll have available coming out of this session. We'll be sure to share that as well.
Yeah, Jason, can you make me a presenter again, please?
Sure.
Just for a second, for a couple of seconds. Okay.
Okay.
Am I a presenter?
You are.
It's not. Sure why.
Let me try it again. I'll take it away.
Yeah. Oh, yep. Now I'm a presenter. So basically, this is like the job.
I think I just took it away. Hold on one second. And now you should be presenter again.
Good, excellent. So basically, yeah. So you can do. I mentioned this material planning before. So just a couple of handy inquiries here. The material stock out list, it's here in the production control. And the job list is here, and from here you can actually see.
Alex, we're not seeing your screen.
Okay, just one sec. Share my desktop.
There we go. It's still coming.
Good. Oh, yeah, a couple of things here, like the material stock out list. comes handy in many situations. And then the job list, again, having information about what resources is assigned to it and whatever. And if you want to, I'm thinking, if you want to see what's set up for the resource group, so let's see what we can see from here from the resource group. So route transactions, and you see all the route transactions for the resource group, or for different operations. So you can get there from here, and let's see. Yeah, this is just operation relation, so it's not very meaningful. And then we can also do the production routes for the different associated production routes for the different productions, and see the results of scheduling. And from here, yeah, we cannot do, yeah, there is no kind of easy way to, like, I'm trying to find an easy way to get to reschedule per group, but the problem is that there's no, I mean, when you schedule the operation scheduling, and this is like against the group, it's not against the particular resource, and this capacity is calculated based on formula, right? So there are a number of ways. But if you want to schedule as a job scheduling, but still be able to review based on a group, I think this view will provide you with this capability. So let's see. This is my, yeah, so you have resource group and you have resource here specified. So technically, if I want to see all that is associated with my resource group, I can do something like that. And of course, I have to do this with a different filter, because filter has to be 9999, and it's just a different thing. So 9999, and then I'm supposed to, or maybe it was 9999 or whatever. Oh, I was looking at, yeah, of course. So route transactions, that's already, that's strange. So it seems like I scheduled everything as job scheduling, so that's why. But you will be able to see this here, and I think that it should be inquiry just for the route transactions, so you can kind of globally launch it and then apply filter and see what's scheduled for the particular route transactions right here. And then you can go here and apply a filter for the route group and see everything which is scheduled for this route group. If you want to reschedule, there is no, I don't see any kind of easy way other than going to particular production order and rescheduling this as operation scheduling, for instance, or from the production order, don't forget that you can do things like this. So you can multi-select, and you can do schedule operations, for instance, and then you can define a scheduling direction for the entire orders, right? So you can say, this is from today, and this is from basically the previous job or something like this. So you can schedule jobs from multiple production orders at the same time just by multi-selecting all of these, and then this helps a lot. So I showed you the job list, I showed you the route transaction list, how to do the filtering, I showed you the multi-select of production orders to do rescheduling of the job scheduling or operation scheduling, and this should help you in your scenario with kind of how to see this from the group perspective, not from the resource perspective. But also there is a lot of interesting things happening. So just to come back to this guy, like in terms of how system calculates capacity per capability. So just to give you this idea, and capacity per resource type. So depending on your resource requirements, this is how capacity will be calculated differently. And then I also saw a question about the priority field and how this is taken into account during scheduling. So imagine that, and it was about shop work control. So imagine that you schedule something. Scheduling takes priority into account. So when you schedule something, the system also creates shop work control jobs. This sits in a different table. It's called JMG job table. So this gets created based on the results of scheduling. So when you do scheduling, priority is already taken into account. And then, of course, your shop floor control jobs will have it inherits this information as well, but it's not directly. So of course, technically, your shop floor control activities will take into account priorities, but this is taken into account on the step before the shop floor control job gets executed on. It's taken into account during the scheduling itself. So the short answer is yes, but there's a long answer to this because of all the details that I tried to explain. And let's see. Yeah, the copy of the presentation, Jason will make sure it's available, and you can check my blog in 3-4 days. Maybe over weekend I will publish this. And how can I get back to the Q&A? Okay, here it is.
If you hover on the top of the screen there, and go all the way to the right, you'll see a drop-down arrow, and you'll see the Q&A, so you can you can bring it up there, or you can just return to stop sharing and return to the panel too.
Yep, I found this. I just clicked on Q&A. So let's see, what else do we have? Reassign resource to the job step. So again, partially I covered this, but I will probably take more time to investigate a more elegant way to do this. Then recording, we cover this. Priority inspection to shop floor, yes, I explained that. I want to understand how do you bring data to WBS. You said the WBS is taken to forecast and forecast to production. Yeah, so basically WBS is your estimation. So this is what the work breakdown structure, that how your project will look like, the breakdown of your tasks. So this is literally estimate. And then this estimate is transferred for scheduling into the forecast. So the forecast is something more tangible than WBS, and you say you're expecting something. It's like a planned production order, but in the project realm. So think about this way. And then when you schedule this, I mean, it takes out some capacity. And then, of course, when you execute, I mean, it's just the regular execution of like you post your project transactions through service orders or through projects as our journals, and this updates basically the project side of things, the cost and revenues, and so on. I mean, the revenues will appear after you do invoice proposal, and so on. So think about project forecast as a planned production order. So something which is not firm, but you're expecting it, and that becomes the subject of for the scheduling, because you want to subtract upfront, you want to subtract the capacity. Otherwise, if you don't take this into account, then it's not a full picture. Then when sequencing is done in resource dispatching, can the sequencing of jobs be viewed for shop floor? So again, think about jobs in the production jobs, and based on production jobs, the system creates shop floor control jobs. So every time you reschedule, this means that shop floor control jobs will be recreated. So in shop floor, you will see shop floor control jobs, but those jobs inherit all the properties from production jobs, because production jobs are the basis for the shop floor control jobs. So it's more like, yeah, can you see the sequence? It's a good question. So let's see if I go here, and if I go to my infection execution, or yeah, maybe as the edit job list, and then I will select my production unit like this, open production unit, specify the resource group or resource. Let's see. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not seeing your screen updating right now. I don't know if anyone else is. I see a slide still on the top of it. The resource scheduling, okay. Operation, scheduling capacity per resource type slide.
Yeah, let me do. I will reshare again. Maybe it's kind of work. So job registration, and I don't think I have the. Let's see. So I will just use one of the production units from here, and hopefully with some operations and jobs against this resource, and hopefully I remember the batch ID here, 1, 2, 3. Okay, yeah, I do. Wow. So when you see this list here, let's see. I want to see project maybe. Yeah, so I have project, or I don't, it seems like I don't have anything for production. So in here, yeah, I have to investigate. I have to look at the sort criteria here and how the system presents this, just based on like rec ID, the most like the earliest is, or the latest is on the top or whatever. So we'll probably investigate it a little bit more and put this note in my blog about this. But of course they are sequenced. And the question is, like, what is the way it's sequenced? Just barely like a rec ID or something more intelligent? I think it may be just the rec ID, the way the system schedules jobs on the production side. Then just in the same sequence, it shows those jobs here. But I'll take a closer look at this, and then for the edit jobs, for the edit job list, I'll just, again, it's more like we're touching more like execution part of it. So then this is the list, that's the list what I was referring to as like a dashboard, and you can move up, move down, and so on. So very handy stuff. And again, you have capacity load, graphical load, representation, and so on. It just, for this resource, I don't have anything. Maybe I will just select my guy here if this will show up, if this will show something. No, I have to do some more preparation here to display it. But from here also you can see that there is a material scheduling aspect. You can see materials required, and you can do move up, move down of the jobs, and some other very interesting things. It's more like a execution piece. So let's see a couple of other questions here, if I can take some more time to answer. In our environment, we expect to have project schedule for the entire business with the customer, from engineering to manufacturing, and action on the site. Once we have engineering sending drawings to the manufacturing, we expect that manufacturing will do production orders. We expecting dates from our WBS. Interesting. So you have WBS and you have project production orders, and there's a confusion from WBS and forecast. More information on that. So there is no link. I don't see the link between project production order and what you have in WBS. That's another. So Jason, can I get all these questions in the text format? I believe I can, because it's all great questions. So it's all great questions, and I don't see the ability to do. Basically, if I go to like this is the guy, and then I go to WBS, so I can compose the WBS, or I think I use this one. But then you want to tie this WBS with the actual, yes, you can obviously see the relation between WBS and forecast. Sorry, the hour forecast. It's right here for the selected line. You can go here and see what's happening. And then in terms of transactions, actually that's interesting. So I can see our transactions, and I can also see item transactions. So basically, you can create for the work breakdown structure, you can tie it with the item forecast. And item forecast, let me see, what is the way for me to get to production? So you can create item forecast to sell, let's say, item number. So the hour forecast is for the consumption of your hours, and the item forecast will be for the actual, I have to specify the category somewhere. Customer project, it's here. And then category is right here. And then enter invoice date, and it has to be here. And let's see, from here, this is my item forecast. And I'm trying to make something up, so just to get closer to what you're trying to do. So that's my item forecast. So this is something more tangible than hour. And from here, can I create, so this item forecast now is associated with the project. And from here, I can do, yeah, I will have to investigate it a little bit more. So, but it's more, it seems to me more like an item forecast for the sales that can drive some inventory-related activities. But that's an excellent question. Unfortunately, I don't have answer to this right now, and I can investigate a little bit more. And I'll try to put this on my blog, so just to how to bridge the gap between WBS, our forecast, and WBS actually item forecast, and what's happening on production floor. So good stuff. And then computer forecast, we need more information on that. Okay, I'll take this offline. I understood from our partners that by using forecasts, some features from our environment in Brazil would not be available. Forecast Brazil. So we have dismissed the idea of using forecasts. It seems like there's a conflict of information now implementation. So this is, again, this is localization, and typically in localization, Brazil is one of the largest localizations, alongside with I think Turkey or India and Brazil probably are the biggest. And usually it's more functionality than, and I came across a lot of interesting Brazilian features in general ledger, and a lot of good additions and a lot of good enablers. Do you say there is almost like disabler for you because of Brazilian localization? I don't know. I have to look again what in actually, let's see, approach our forecast. Yeah, I think now again it's another thing that I can take offline. I'm not aware of this blocking functionality, but if you have some details, if you can send me email to Alex Anikiiev at Microsoft.com, so this will be very helpful. So this is my email. So if you please send, Peter, if you please send this details to this email, I can look specifically at what's wrong and what's blocking you, and then initially I'm not aware of this. So I think so. I took like two questions to investigate offline. We'll try to incorporate this into my blog, and so what you can expect is kind of think like this. So I have all the screenshots with all the stuff here. So very detailed write-up with some of the gotchas and some of the interesting things, and all the screens and how you add up to the capacity. So if you will need to run this scenario, like I replicated this on the Fresh demo VM within 20 minutes. So it's very quick setup and a lot of different explanations of how different screens can be used. And I will incorporate some of the execution pieces about shop floor. So I understand people want to know all the like end-to-end, not only the scheduling piece, but also like how does this relate to shop floor control jobs? How do the orders relate to WBS? So all very interesting questions. We'll try to enhance my material and publish this for you on my blog. So thank you very much for attention, and hopefully Justin will not blame me for a long time taken after kind of we were supposed to finish.
No blame here. Thanks so much, Alex. We did record today's session, everyone. Thanks for sticking around on the line, and we look forward to following up with answers to other questions and the resources from today's event. So thanks, and have a great day.
Yeah, appreciate your attendance. Thank you very much. Goodbye.